Greetings and welcome to today's show. My name is Ariella Indigo and I'm your host for Season 2 of the Multidimensional Human Experience Global Summit. So in this season, we're talking about all things ascension related and what techniques are available to us so that we can really advance in our spiritual evolution. And in today's show, I'm joined by my guest, Danielle Rama Hoffman, who's a leader in the shift into unity consciousness and who has direct connection with Thoth and the Council of Light, meaning that she's able to transmit energy and wisdom from them. So Danielle's also an award-winning author of 3 books called The Council of Light, The Temples of Light, and The Tablets of Light. Danielle, thank you so much for being here and a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to co-create a conversation with you and everyone tuning in.
So I'd like to start off, if I may. I'd really love to hear about your own personal ascension journey, or at least some of it, and just in terms of how that experience of awakening has been to you. I think that would be really cool for our viewers to hear about.
Yes, well, it's where to start, where to begin. You know, for me, I think like a lot of us, there really was key individuals that I had set up to meet before coming in this lifetime. And so I started pretty early on in the healing arts with counseling and also massage therapy and Reiki. And that even as a child, I had the recognition or awareness of what others were feeling, yet not saying. And so that oversensitivity as a part of my journey also involved at various times kind of trying to numb out with alcohol or with work or with relationships to kind of stop that oversensitivity. And then once I had initiations and attunements and kind of, you know, got my groove together, those tools really helped me shift from my gifts being a challenge into really being an asset. And since 1996, I've been connected to Thoth. He says Thoth when he comes through, the God of infinite knowledge, the keeper of the Akashic records, and have been bringing in bodies of work directly with him. And I know I'm sharing a lot about my professional part of my personal ascension journey, yet they really go hand in hand for me, because those, whether it was a Reiki attunement or an initiation or an activation or having bodies under my hands with massage or doing energy healing sessions, all of that kind of gave me some toolboxes to be having those natural gifts as a part of my process be utilized in a way that is much more effective and efficient. And for me, what really had been the turning point was my connection to guides, to my own guidance, and that divine partnership between me as a light being incarnate and light beings in light. So that's a little glimpse. I know that was a lot in a short amount of time.
That was great. And so important. Thank you for sharing that. I know myself, and I'm sure many of our viewers can really relate to the oversensitivity and the path, the journey of understanding that our sensitivity is our greatest gift, and being able to then access higher gifts, shall we say, as a result of going through that journey. And I think it's really inspirational. And I thank you for sharing that with people, because I know there will be some viewers who are watching this right now still really struggling with their sensitivities as well. And I think it's very inspiring to hear somebody share that they've managed to transmute that into their purpose. So thank you so much. So I'd like to I'd like to get into more detail about ascension and about what actually ascension is, because I know that many people have got many different takes on that. And
Mhm.
also the people that I'm interviewing on this show have got many different takes on that, which is great because everybody gets to attach to something differently. So I just wondered if we could speak more about that and get more clarity around what actually is ascension.
Yes. And, you know, really the way that I would speak about it and the Council of Light speaks about it is that journey from separation consciousness or duality, fear, lack, survival, tribal consciousness into unity consciousness and love, collaboration, abundance. And that as we each were born originally, there was this separation consciousness that was a part of it. So part of the ticket in some ways of being here was this divine forgetting or being separate from ourselves as source consciousness, being separate from what it is that we may have desired. And then now the earth has raised her vibration, we've raised our vibration. There's been a shift in consciousness already that, from my perspective, we're catching up to, where we're living in unity consciousness. So it's a very extraordinary time where there's this kind of overlap. So we have years of living with certain ways of thinking, certain ways of perceiving the illusion, duality, right, wrong, good, bad, all those things. And then there's now this possibility to really be being in union, being in connection, and living as the awakened light beings. And so there is this ascension spiral, and yet I often would speak about it in terms of an ascension, descension spiral, because really all of us has to go. Like, we can't leave the body behind, we can't leave the mind behind, we can't leave the emotions behind. There's really this shift as well from kind of going from the body, the mind, the emotions, and those filters of how we primarily experience ourselves into recognizing that we are, and the language here would be different, that we are divine beings, that we are eternal, that we are multidimensional, and then be accessing more of those dimensions. And so in my personal experience, and I think this is what we were talking about a little bit as well, and also supporting others in their evolution and consciousness, the journey is very unique. And so it's not that separation or duality stop existing, yet from my experience, it's more that there's a larger bandwidth of how we're experiencing things, so that that fear or that sensation that we're doing something wrong, or some of those tribal consciousness layovers or overlays, as they come up, there's a greater sense of being resourced. And so the Council of Light uses the analogy of that if in separation consciousness we're in a state of fear, it's like adding that fear into a thimble of water, and that food coloring fear into a thimble of water, and then the water turns that entire color. Whereas as we're more in this multidimensional living and in unity consciousness, then it's like taking that drop of fear, that slower vibration, and adding that as a food coloring into the ocean. So that can be described in so many ways, of shifting from the third chakra, the solar plexus, into the heart center, that it's really also about inclusion. And because I have been in the healing arts now, I think this is my 24th year, I've really seen an evolution in terms of the paradigm of tools and what works. So what used to work doesn't really work so well. And so one of the keys that I think from my perspective has really helped me a lot in my journey, and others as well, is the shift from trying to release the slower vibrations to include them into the wholeness or into the oneness as rocket fuel for the evolution in consciousness, because it's all energy. And so we can transmute or shift that energy And yet, again, if we try to separate ourselves from some part of us that we don't prefer or something we don't like, then oftentimes we'll have to circle back for that to bring all of us along. So
Mm.
that's a little bit of what I would say about living multidimensionally and this ascension, descension, ascension spiral that we're in.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much. So much wisdom in there. Can we go a little bit deeper in terms of something that you just said there? Because I think it's so helpful. This, instead of separating ourselves and trying to get rid of things that we might perceive to be flaws, you've spoken about including those. Could you give our viewers just some understanding of, in practical terms, techniques that they could use in order to do that?
Yes, well, there's a lot of different techniques. So I'm really tuning into this particular group and seeing which way would be the most efficient and expansive. And what's coming to me is a combination of really like choice, that sometimes you've done everything with it, like that you've looked at it at all different angles, like you know your territory, you know what's going to take you off your center, or when you leave your connection to source, kind of what you say to yourself, what you do, all those kinds of things. So sometimes it's not necessarily about a tool in terms of a certain meditation. Sometimes it's really about choosing, like choosing to be different, choosing to allow this conversation to be one in which, after you have been steeping in this co-creative field of which you're contributing to as well, you're different than you were when you began. And so the first step, I would say, would be choosing to make that choice, to allow, to claim, to be different than you were. And by different, meaning more of who it is that you are. And then the second thing that's coming is from the Council of Light, the Emerald Ray. And the Emerald Ray is the U Ray. And the U Ray really amplifies your signature energy, because part of this living multidimensionally is moving out of tribal consciousness and trying to fit in and have approval and make sure you don't get kicked out of the tribe and play it safe and hide out and blend in and all those kinds of things. And yet this unity consciousness time is really asking for the difference of you to be what makes a difference. So the Emerald Ray supports a greater sense of being at home in your own signature energy, in your uniqueness, and that what your uniqueness is, what your areas of divine genius, what your areas of ascended mastery are, what you love to be, what you love to experience. Those are all examples of your signature energy. And then the more that you are broadcasting your signature energy, then that is a way to really be in that greater resource state. So first is choice. The second is calling on the Emerald Ray and really allowing a greater sense of you being you. And then the third thing that's coming in is, again, a tool from the Council of Light, the Peace Ray. And calling upon the Peace Ray is really calling upon an illusion-free environment. And so the Council of Light are here as a part of this conversation as well, and they're placing the Emerald Ray and also the Peace Ray on the altar for you to pick up if you're choosing. And so it can be as simple as saying, I choose to be me and only me, and call upon the Emerald Ray and the Peace Ray, and then you're positioned to be including more of that. So it's kind of interesting because ascension isn't an intellectual thing that you can figure out. Living multidimensional, it includes all of you. So sometimes as the consciousness is coming forward, or as we're kind of describing, well, what's a practical tool that you can do? Actually, some of the practical tools that you can do are to be as nonlinear and impractical as possible so that you're accessing more of those multidimensionality knowings. So asking that part of you that knows how to really be in a greater state of peace with yourself and inclusion with yourself. So it is an interesting question, because to me, again, what has helped my journey the most, and what I really see with the others that I am co-midwifing in a way to that next evolution in consciousness, that really seems to make the difference, is having an inner dominion, really focusing on your internal world, your inner sovereignty, so that that is something that you can be amplifying and moving forward. So that's also the reason for this particular sequence of choosing and then calling upon the emerald ray and the peace ray, is that it also creates a greater inner connection, a greater inner sovereignty, because there may be things happening in your external experience that are unpreferred, and yet how you respond to them. And if you do leave source, or you leave your connection, then how quickly you come back to it is really the key to this process. So if you stay in the spiral of not enoughness, or who am I, or what am I thinking, or this is dangerous, or all of those kinds of things, then you don't really get into a new place on the record. So that's what I'm placing on the altar, is my hope for this conversation, or my desire, is that if there is kind of a loop that you're in, a repetitive pattern, like a record that's stuck, that's playing over and over and over, that this conversation is just like taking your finger on that old vinyl record player and then moving it forward so you can play the rest of your song.
I love that. Thank you so much. That's so useful. And can our viewers just call on the emerald ray and the peace ray? They can just call on that anytime?
Yes.
Amazing. And where do these come from? Where can you give any more background in terms of where these rays come from?
Yes. So this is part of the Council of Light material, the Council of Light book, of really manifesting the deepest desires of your soul. And so I've been working with Thoth, the Egyptian god of infinite knowledge, really closely for some time. And then there came this time where he was like, okay, here's this Council of Light that's stepping more into the forefront. And I'm talking about that because each of you may notice that as well, that there may be individuals that are a part of your life that have a primary role, and then they step back and others come forward. And then also in terms of your guides, that your guides change depending on the developmental stage that you're in, and you complete what you've come together with some guides, and then other guides come in. So I remember meditating, and I was in Seattle, and I was meditating with the Temple of Egypt, the Temple of Luxor in Egypt, from Seattle. And in my meditation, when I got there, I was met by thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of light beings. And it was just really a lot of beautiful energy. And so I asked for a representative so that there'd be some way to communicate. And the Golden Stargate, I call him the Golden Stargate guy, he came forward as this representative. And that was really the beginning of this body of work that's come through the Council of Light. And the Council of Light's purpose is to enhance the vibration of joy. So not only the emotion of joy, yet also the frequency of joy, to then amplify health and wealth and happiness. And so this connection with the Council of Light was then the recognition that there were these thousands of light beings from across the multiverse, and that each individual has their own unique Council of Light, depending on your divine lineage, depending on the frequencies and vibrations that work for you. And so it was like this cross pollination from beings of light from all over the multiverse, and then bringing forward these particular rays of light. So there's the emerald ray, the U ray, the Venus ray of opulent bliss, the solar ray, which is the now ray. So there are these 11 rays of light that you can utilize to really amplify the vibration of joy, and then move into greater states of health and wealth and happiness. So that's a little bit of where the rays of light came from. And also, to me, that's a beautiful example of what I think is key to this multidimensional living, is that there are frequencies and vibrations that haven't been on the Earth star thus far that are now, like now that we require them for our awakening. And so that's why there's so many light tools and technologies that are coming forward, and also some directly, like how it works for me with beings of light.
We're so lucky, aren't we? There's so much support available to us, truly. That's incredible. Thank you so much. So I don't know, are the counts, is the Counts of Light, or Thoth, or Toth as he calls himself, are they with us at the moment?
Yes, yes. And this seems like a good place perhaps to bring them in more directly. So, wow. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll just take a moment. And while I'm taking a moment to connect with them, inviting you each to connect to the emerald ray, your signature energy, and your free will and conscious choice, that these vibrations and transmissions are being placed on the altar, and you're invited to pick up what's yours to be and do and have, nothing more, nothing less. Hello, dear ones. It is I, Toth, with the Council of Light, that are moving more into the forefront of this divine transmission. And there is a particular Council of Light that's moving forward, that's a combination of the rose panel beings of light, such as Isis and Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, and many divine feminine energies, and also the Venus Council of Light, which has the purpose of really amplifying your reason for being here, your what's often called the purpose, your particular gifts and talents, the song that you're here to sing. And so the Rose panel with this Venus Council provide a unique combination to open up into a greater sacred union between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and then also have this beautiful field of potentiality and also energy, so that you can be your undiluted self. And so that's another way to describe ascension, or this living multidimensionally, is a bit like Michelangelo, as he described creating David, that there was this carving away from the original block of stone anything that wasn't David. And so you have spent much time in that carving away process of letting go, or of, we would say, including back in the wholeness, back in the oneness, that which is not uniquely you or yours. And now it's really, from our perspective, that time to recognize, well, what is you and yours? And to have full permission for that individualized oneness, that there is this awareness that if you're a strawberry, you're the most sun-ripened, juicy, succulent strawberry possible. If you're the bicycle, that you are partnering with your life in such a way that that bicycle is living its fullest expression. And so this invitation for you to be you full out, and also to drop the old paradigm of comparing of trying to be a cantaloupe when you're really an orange, to really allow you to shine, really allow your uniqueness to come forward. And so the Venus beings of light are supporting that process so that there's the reabsorption of those reasons that you would try to hold back. Now, we know that as we're in conversation, eye to eye, peer to peer, divine to divine, there can be old overlays that come forward to come into this conversation with us as light beings from a perspective that we may know more about what's best for you than you would know for yourself, or that old paradigm of power over, power under, and that sensation of desiring to give away your power, whether that's to us or to a boss or to anyone else. And so there's also the awareness of the energy stream of equanimity and equality and the revolution in relationships that is really recognizing that everyone has access to all that it is that they require. So we're inviting you to reclaim your inner potency and to also be basking in this energy of the Venus beings of light so that you can be amplifying your unique gifts and your signature energy and unleashing your full self. Now, we know when we talk about living fully you, there can be like a sense of then you have to become somebody you're not, or striving, or we're saying bigger, better, faster. We really mean being you. So that may be a quiet power, that may be an explosive joy, yet there's the full freedom for you to be you. So that's how we would open in our initial transmission. And we are delighted to continue the conversation in any direction that you're called, any questions or reflections.
Thank you so much. That's a beautiful introduction. Thank you for bringing this lovely energy through for all of our viewers as well. Something that I'm guided to ask you about is the physical symptoms, the many changes which are going on within the human body as part of the ascension process. And many people often struggle with health challenges and other challenges while still being required to go to work and be a parent and all of these other demands that we have on us. Could I ask you to talk a little bit about these physical changes? What is happening to us, and any advice that you can give or help and support that you could give to any of our viewers who are currently struggling with these physical symptoms?
Yes, beautiful question. And as we're spiraling into the energy of what it is that we would share about that, we would also invite the uptake of these energies to be in alignment with the optimal now moment for you. For we have been speaking multidimensionally, we have been speaking quickly, and even Danielle, as she was speaking in an accelerated pace beyond her normal speaking rhythm. And that's in response to this particular field and what it is that you've been asking for. And so there's a lot that's being placed on the altar that we want to acknowledge that's beyond the words that are spoken. So part of how we would spiral into that particular question of we call them adaptation sensations, the physical discomforts that can happen, is that there really, even though there is this kind of universal bipedal form of being a light being incarnated, with what you would say your human brilliant system, that you each in general have two eyes and two legs and two hands, and there's a consistency to the what you would call the physicality. However, you each have a very unique vibrational makeup that is not the same as everyone else around you. That just like your fingerprint is exactly your fingerprint and your fingerprint alone, your energy makeup is also like that. So one way that that shows up on the Earth Star is in terms of genealogy and your ancestors. And so we would also talk about the recognition that you may have a sensation that you are a star seed, or you may have the sensation that you are a divine being that is also, your origin is an earth, like your home is an earth, that you've come here to contribute to a revolution in consciousness. And yet you may have certain orientations or sensations or preferences or proclivities that are very much unique to you. So you may love the fifth dimensional feline energies from Sirius or the dolphins and have a strong connection to that. Or you may have a sensation of being very connected to the crystalline energies, or as your divine transmitter, Danielle, the connection to me, Thoth, and that divine lineage that has also had many, many, many lifetimes in ancient Egypt and other places. So this process of ascension can also be described as really shifting from living from your ancestral lineage to awakening and reconnecting to your divine lineage, which could be called a lot of different things, living as the embodied soul, awakening, it can be called so many things. So as this process, and we don't want to say it's the same for everyone because it's not. Some of you are shifting from being electromagnetic into being more crystalline, yet not everyone is. Some of you are shifting from running your meridian systems to be from kind of the 10 primary meridians if you look at the meridians from the thumb to the big toe, you have these 10 fingers and these 10 toes, these 10 primary meridians, to be really running your meridians in a way that is spherical. It's a spiral. It's not just only vertical and horizontal. So there's a lot happening, and we want to say that it's unique to you. However, the way that you can navigate the shift in consciousness, including your physical form, with greater ease is by being you, is by broadcasting your signature energy, is by really calling upon the gifts and the talents and the knowing that you have that also exists in other dimensions. So as your body is upgrading, updating, evolving, it is a little bit like reincarnating within the same incarnation. It is a little bit like evolution, that once was required and necessary is no longer necessary, and that which is required and necessary is coming online. So there really is that awareness as well, that the more that you can be including your body in the wholeness, the more that you can be bringing along all of you in oneness, and not flipping from the body, the mind, the emotions, 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 because that's pretty much playing the same record. So what else are you? Where else are you? What else are you tapped into? So then you can go the body, the mind, the emotions, the spirit, the body, the mind, the emotions, multidimensionality, the body, the mind, the emotions, your divine capacity of intuition, the body, the mind, the emotions. You're in a unified field of oneness, the body, the mind, the emotions. So then it all becomes like teeth on a zipper that used to be separate, to then be zipping up the zipper into one zipper. So we know that we've been speaking conceptually and also providing a context in response, yet there's also, again, a choice to have greater and greater moments of ease and grace, to be choosing, because consciousness is also your capacity to be conscious. And let's say 99.9% of your body is in alignment, and that 1% may be screaming. You may have a headache. You may be exhausted, and it's loud. It's so loud that seems to be the only thing that's happening. Yet really, from the ocean view, rather than the thimble view, there's a lot that's going well in your incarnation. There's a lot that's going well in your body. So it is also about retraining in some ways the mind and the body and the emotions to be looking at what is already going well. So you may have, and we know these practices have been shared over and over and over and over again of gratitude and appreciation, yet really whatever will shift your focus. If you're feeling stressed out about paying the bills, that you would perhaps walk around with toilet paper on your head for 5 minutes, or call upon the energy of hot pink to kind of have a level of silliness, that you're mindfully placing your awareness on also where you want to go. Because if you're driving, we know this analogy is used a lot as well, if you're driving while looking in the rear view mirror, then you won't get to where it is that you're going. So we would complete all of that by bringing in the rainbow ray. And the rainbow ray is a wholeness ray. We'd also invite you to be current with who it is that you become, because sometimes you have an anchor or something that's calling you back, like the body, that is reminding you that you haven't brought all of you forward. And so the rainbow ray supports you in being current with who it is that you've become. Because you are changing so rapidly, you also need to really let yourself know, okay, I'm different in this moment than I was 5 minutes ago. The divine is expanding, you're expanding. The divine isn't done. It's organic, dynamic. You're not done, you're becoming. So also having some practices where you're informing all of your systems that you've evolved, that you've changed, can create less stretch marks along the way. Like stretch marks are optional. So we're bringing in the rainbow ray and inviting you to be current with who it is that you've become, to let your body know you're running energies differently, to let your mind know that you're perceiving things from a more whole perspective, to let your emotions know that the slower vibrational emotions are welcome along this journey into the wholeness, yet they're also being asked to evolve into their next level of consciousness. And so as these adaptation sensations come up, we would invite you to see them as an invitation that your system may also be asking for frequencies and vibrations that are different than the ones that your body used to thrive in. And that's what also we're bringing forward in this transmission, is that maybe your body, as you're awakening in more of your divine lineage alignment, you may be asking for more rose quartz energy. You may be asking for more of the energy that was from the path of the Venus light star systems. So that is also something to be open to allow yourself to be different, to allow yourself to reach for energies and frequencies that may be even more nourishing to you and your body than the ones that used to be nourishing. Good. So we're just bringing in this rainbow ray and inviting you to become current with who it is that you've become. Mm. And also placing the reminder that you can be bringing in these energies in that perfect now moment. So it's like we've placed this package of energies on the altar, and you can pick up what's yours to pick up, and then you can unpack. It's almost like if you've gone on a sacred sites journey and you've gone to the temples of Egypt, for example, and you've gone to 12 temples, and at each temple you bought a different souvenir. Then when you get home, you can unpack what it is that you've picked up at those temples. So this conversation is a little bit like that. It's a journey, and you have picked up energies, and you've also left energies, or placed them back in the oneness, back in the wholeness, that are no longer representative of who you currently have become. And then you can unpack them in the days and the weeks and the months and the years to come, or in the now moment, that they make sense. Because that's also, and we would complete with this, that sometimes you came into this incarnation as well with capacities that didn't make sense in separation consciousness. Now they make sense. So you may also find yourself picking up parts of yourself that you may recognize from a younger part of yourself. So it's a little bit like when you're born, you come in with this scuba suit and you're carrying around this oxygen tank and this mask and your wetsuit, and yet you're walking on land in separation. It doesn't make any sense. So at one point you go, okay, I'm not going to carry around this scuba suit anymore. I'm putting it down. Well, in the meantime, the earth has changed, the context has changed, the environment's changed, the frequencies have changed. And so whatever that scuba suit is for you, whatever that you being that succulent strawberry is for you, it's also time to pick that up, because it makes more sense now to have that scuba suit as you're in a different environment. Yeah, so we're just pausing for a few moments. And is there anything else that you would ask or reflect before we step aside?
I just want to say thank you so much for the wisdom and the gifts that you have shared, and just invite you, if there's anything that, after tuning into the energy of these incredible beings that are watching this show today, is there anything that you would like to share with them?
Well, we would use the analogy of going on a journey, and that you, as a light being, or what you would call a soul, has been on an eternal journey of all now moments, what you consider future, present, and past, and to be unpacking more and more and more of the tools that you have within you from your journey, that you can now utilize. And so it's a bit of a treasure hunt. And you may notice that a situation will call to you to place your hand in your bag and to bring forward a certain tool or certain contribution that you have. Because this evolution in consciousness isn't something that is happening alone. It's happening with each individual, that then is creating a wider field, that then is creating this quantum shift, or this acceleration of consciousness and evolution. So that's where we would complete, that you have acquired and are bringing forward many tools from your multidimensional journey that you can be tapping into. Danielle seeing like Hermione's endless bag from the Harry Potter, that she sticks her hand in the bag and pulls out things that don't seem to fit in the bag, or the room of requirements in Harry Potter, that what you require when you go in that room, it's there. your journey is like that. You are the lock and key that is unlocking those perfect individuals, experiences, and opportunities. And this conversation is something that has been created by you and with you and for you.
Thank you so much.
All light, and we are all.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Wow. Some amazing analogies there. I love those.
Yeah.
Fascinating as well to see how differently people channel. I mean, your eyes are just wide open as it's coming through. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that there is that energy as well that gets transmitted through the eyes, through the fields. Yeah, yeah. So this is Danielle moving back. That was fun.
Yes. Where do you go?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely conscious. So it's an interesting question because it does take that individualized oneness experience that, for me, I notice the stronger my identity has become and the more I'm aware of who I am, then the greater the connection can be. Where I know at first glance, channeling seems like, well, yeah, like you step aside and then the guides take over. It's very much a divine partnership. So I would say I go more into the wider council of light and am a part of that larger field, yet not on that conscious level in quite the same way. But I loved what they were sharing about, going on a sacred sites journey, because the special offer that's also on the altar for those of you that are called is really shifting into unity consciousness with joy and the ascended masters and the beings of light. And that as a part of this special offer, there really are a lot of transmissions that were done at sacred sites in Egypt and in France, as well as different locations that really can contribute that lock and key, because the earth also has a role in the shift in consciousness, her body shifting, our bodies shifting, and the sacred sites are, in addition to the light beings, have contributions. So it seemed like they were almost positioning the conversation as well to kind of see this special offer as a sacred site journey and a treasure hunt as well for each of you to be unlocking and accessing even more of who it is that you are through the vibrations of joy and with the support of the guides and the light beings.
Absolutely. Could we just run through a little bit more detail with the viewers who are called to access your special offer today? Because it's an amazing package that you've put together, isn't it? Including quite a few different things, the sacred sites videos you've spoken about, and there's 3 of those, right? There's also many other amazing gifts that Danielle has put into this package for you. Could we start off with the Joy Camp? I love that terminology.
Yes, so there's the Unity Consciousness Joy Camp of 5 days with the Ascended Masters, and that's 5 70-minute audio transmissions that really, the way that they describe it is that they could have called it a boot camp, but it's really a joy camp to have this immersion as well with the beings of light and moving into greater and greater states of joy. And some of that shifting that was spoken about in the beginning of the conversation of, like, how do you go from primarily living through the filters of your body, your mind, your emotions, or duality and that illusion to into more of that unity consciousness awareness and living, like. And so there are the transmissions with Isis, with Mary Magdalene, with Thoth, that bring different perspectives to that process so that it can also be uniquely you and yours. And that's one of the things I love about, regardless of any transmission or video, and they mentioned it as well in this transmission, is that it's a multidimensional conversation. And one of the things that I love about hanging out with Thoth and the Council of Light is that I feel this sense of being divinely matched, and that it really is that eye to eye, peer to peer, light being to light being, and an environment where I'm encouraged to be bringing more of me on that multidimensional level. So I would say that this special offer and the Joy Camp really is a vibrational environment in which there is this divine partnership or this divine matching as well, to be going in the direction of what it is that you're really choosing. Because there's a lot of environments that where you can go into the separation or what's not working, and it's always a balance to be including that, but then like all is well, now what? So the whole perspective of this particular unity consciousness through joy package is what if you were evolving through joy, and what if you had an environment that really was supporting you naturally to be connecting more multidimensionally. So the Unity Consciousness Joy Camp is really a part of that process. And then you already mentioned as well the 3 sacred site videos that bring in the energies from different sacred sites, and from bringing people to Egypt and France and going myself over and over and over and over again. It's just amazing. And the new sacred sites, like where we each live, are waking up as well. How being immersed in the ley lines also reminds us of how we are temples of light, how we are these divine sites. And so that's another part of the role that these transmissions have. So there's one, for example, from Isis in the Temple of Philae in Egypt that is just really groovy and yummy and sublime.
Then we have, because you've packed a huge amount in here, so then we have the Bliss Activation group audios. So there's 3 of those, aren't they, which are about 70 minutes each.
Yes. And that again is really like having, where it is that we come from is simultaneously the journey and the destination. So there's a soul bliss activation with support from Saint Germain, Archangel Michael, Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet, and also a Mary Magdalene bliss gift that was recorded in France, and then a Lemurian portal for the Unity Consciousness shift from Maui. So it's also a combination of high vibrational energies, which, as well as what the Council of Light was sharing about, of how like everybody's not the same. So you need your customized bespoke energy packages for your journey. And so because these are all scribed transmissions or divinely transmitted, the energies within them, even though they're the same transmission that each individual will be listening to, it's almost like as you go through this journey, you recognize, oh, that's exactly what I've been asking for. So there are these transmissions as well from the sacred sites. And then the next component about it is the daily practices for joy and bliss, which include a consciousness on demand video session that's about the space of joy. And this is a 5-minute video session because sometimes you also want to like be tuning in. What if you started your day with a 5-minute practice? Or what if after you have a lunch break and you're going back to work, you tuned into a shorter transmission. And then there's also a Temples of Light guided meditation from the Temple of Dendera to activate instinctual bliss. And the Temple of Dendera is dedicated to the goddess Hathor, the goddess of bliss and ecstasy. So it's really a juicy, joy-packed experience. And that is also modeling that it is possible as well to be coming from that vibration of joy and to have support from beings of light and light.
A juicy package indeed. You said it, and it absolutely is. So there's, 4 aspects there. We've got the 5 days with the masters, the Consciousness Joy Camp, the 3 videos from the sacred sites, the 3 bliss activation group transmissions, and then the 4th aspect are the daily practices, which Danielle just spoke about. So jam-packed full of amazing different aspects there for you. So, and it's an incredible price as well. So this was at $700 for the whole of this package. Danielle is offering it to you as our beautiful Summit viewers for a huge discount of 86% down to just $97. So definitely take advantage of this incredible package. It's specifically been discounted for you. Thank you so much, Danielle. So I do recommend that everybody clicks on the link that I have sent you in today's email. Go and have a read about this package on Danielle's site and feel into it, and go with the energy. If the energy is pulling you that way, then please do take Danielle up on this incredible and generous offer today. Thank you, Danielle. I feel like there's just been, again, it's the word juicy. We have packed so much into this interview. Thank you. It's been amazing.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you.
It's been amazing connecting with you. Thank you to yourself. Thank you to Toth. I know that I need to break out of my bad English accent there. The Council of Light as well. But I know sometimes you say Thoth, don't you?
Yeah, I learned Thoth, and there's Thoth and Toth and Tot, and so there's not a wrong way to call, just to call them.
they answer anyway.
Yeah.
So absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all the amazing viewers who have tuned in today. I hope you enjoyed this interview, got tons of value out of it. This is definitely an interview which I would highly recommend that you watch a few times, because there was so much incredible information there today. We've been truly blessed, and also the energy coming through as well was amazing. So please stay with us in the summit. Keep on tuning in every day. We have got more amazing guides, teachers, way showers, channelers. Everybody's got their own unique gifts, and I'm certainly learning a huge amount by doing this, and I'm hoping and I'm sure that wisdom is being shared out with you all also. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow.